Okay, what's going on everyone? It is Kyle and we are back with another episode of my programming and web development tutorials. This is episode 2 of our C++ tutorials, and in today's episode we are going to be covering integers and numbers and basic mathematics in C++. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of different types of numbers or integer types, or as they call them, floating point types. And yeah, I'm going to explain what they mean, what they do, and how we can use them in some kind of a real world situation. So let's get started. We're going to open up our code blocks and we're going to follow the process that we did in the first episode for creating a new project. I've already done so and just deleted the code out of the first episode's one, so I didn't have to go through all that hassle again. And yeah, let's get started. So we're going to do up our basic C++ program template, which consists of our include IO stream, declare our main function, give it a return value. Okay, so let's get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to declare some variables, and I'm going to show you guys how you can do some additions, multiplication, subtraction, and division, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So how do you actually declare a variable, and what is a variable? So a variable in C++, and for that matter, any programming languages, is a value that is stored in the memory of the computer, okay, so that you can access it later on within your program, so you don't lose it, if you know what I mean. So to declare a variable, first what you need to do in C++ is give it a variable type, and in this case it's going to be an integer, so int, okay, so that's our variable type. The next thing we need to do is supply it with a variable name, and the variable name that we're going to give this one is number1. And then optionally we need to assign that variable name or that variable with a value, and we're going to do that. So I'm going to assign this one with 85, okay, and then we're going to make 3 more. So integer number 2, 34, okay. And so these are our 2 integers. Now I said at the beginning of the episode that we'll also cover decimal points as well. So as I might have mentioned in the first episode, integers are whole numbers only, both negative and positive numbers, but they're only whole, so they don't have any decimal points. So if you want to get into some decimal points, what you need to do is you need to declare a floating point type variable. It has 3 different sorts. There are floats, doubles, and long doubles. Okay, so what's the difference between all 3? Basically, they increase in resolution, so how many decimal points you can have at the end of it, all right? So for a double, for a float, it's 7, or around about 7, I think it is. And for a double, it is, I think it's like 16, 17, something like that. It's around there. It's around the 16 number, I think. So yeah, we're just going to use a float in this one because we don't really need that many decimal points, okay? So we're going to declare a float, and then we're going to call this one number 3, and we're going to give it a value of 24.58, and we're going to create our last variable of number 4, and that is equal to 63.12. Cool, okay, so we've declared all these variables, so now what? What we want to do, or what we want this program to do, is basically print out some basic mathematics onto the screen, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to do just that. So just like in our Hello World program where we've got Hello World to print out on the screen, we're going to do a very similar thing here, just with a slight twist. So std cout, so printing out onto the screen, our double less than symbols, and then we don't need the thing, we don't need the quotes. What are we going to do? We'll do number 1 plus number 2. How about that? So number 1 plus number 2, and it is that easy. That's it. So what we're printing out is number 1 plus number 2, and we run the program, and so 85 and 34 is 119, which sounds right, I think. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so we've got that. So that's pretty much how basic and easy it is. Now you can change this plus symbol or this addition symbol to multiplication, which is signified by an asterisk in C++ and a lot of other programming languages, pretty much all of them. So 85 by 34 is 2,890. Then we're going to change it to a subtraction symbol, so minus. So 85 minus 94, 85 minus 34, sorry, is 51. And division is signified by a /. And we run it, save it and run it, and we get 2. So with the multiplication and the division more than anything else, because we're using integers, it will never give decimal points. So if you want some form of accuracy with the numbers that you get, then you're better off using, your floating point type numbers. Floating point type numbers. So to do that, we're just going to change this to number 3 and number 4. Okay. And then we're going to open that up. So 24.58 divided by 63.12 is 0.389417. Okay, and that's fantastic. So yeah, that's basically, and you can change this to multiplication as well. Let's just do that for the fun of it, and we'll see what we get. So yeah, that's right. So we got that similar number before, but now we've got the 0.49 at the end of it. So we've got more accuracy and resolution than our integers. Okay, so how could you use this type of mathematics and numbering in a real life situation? What we're going to do is we're going to make a very, very simple application that is actually going to get input from the user and is going to add 2 numbers together. So really, really simple. So we're going to get rid of our floats. We're just going to work with whole numbers in this one just to make it as easy as possible. So I can show you guys how to get input from the user and then actually display the results on screen. And because we're getting input from the user, we do not need to assign a value to these variables. The user will do that for us. Okay. So we've got integer number 1 and integer number 2, and then we're going to go down and we are going to basically ask the user to enter the first number, and we'll go from there. Okay. So std cout double less than, or I don't even know what those are. Double less than symbols is what they are. Okay, so we're going to say please enter the first number, and we're just going to put a space there, and we're going to put a semicolon right on there because we don't want a new line. We just want the user to enter the number at the end of that line, and it sort of makes it look a bit more professional. Okay, so now we actually need to get user from the input from the user, and to do that, it's very similar to cout, except we're going to use cin. Okay, which is all about the input and the output stream. Okay, so std cin, and then we're actually going to swap our double less than symbols the other way around to double greater than symbols, and then we're going to basically the double less than and the double greater than symbols is basically, I guess, it's the direction of where you're actually pointing the data. So basically you're pointing outwards and you're pointing this onto the screen. With getting user information, you're actually pointing this into something. So we're going to point this into number 1. So the number that the user enters when it asks is going to be assigned to number 1. And just to test, we're going to std cout and number 1. Okay, so what this will actually... I'll just do that just to be sure. Okay, so what this is going to do is going to ask the user for the first number. We're going to enter a number just to test it, and then that number that we enter should actually be displayed on the screen. So that's... oh. What did I do there? What does it say? Number 1? Oh no. Make sure that you actually call your variable names correctly. That took a while to spot. Okay, so our application is asking us, please enter the first number. So we're going to enter the first number. We're going to enter 888. Then we're going to hit enter, and it displays 888 on the screen, just there. Okay, So it's important to test your application every now and again because it lets you pick up errors quickly. So if you were to write 100 lines of code and then you just test it at the end after you've written it, you could spend quite some time trying to work out why your program doesn't work, which is why we're testing it now. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to just delete, no, we're not going to delete that line. We're going to delete part of that line. And we're going to ask the user to input the second number. Please enter the second number. Same thing as we did last time, except we're going to assign this one to number 2. I'm going to spell it right this time as well. Okay, and then we're going to put this at the end. So we're going to see out the value of number 1 plus. Okay, so if I'll explain this at the end, actually, just to make it. Ugh, insert, I hate that button. Okay, so what this is saying is it's going to print out on the screen the value of space, and then we're going to give it the value of our variable number 1. So the value of number 1, and then we're going to, so every time you have a break in text, you need to add in these here. And so you wouldn't actually put number 1 in quotes because it's a variable, unless you want number 1 printed out on the screen. You actually take it out of the quotes and then you add another 2 of these less than symbols. So the value of number 1 plus number 2 is number 1 plus number 2. Okay, so let's test it. Okay, so it's going to ask us for the first number. The first number we're going to enter is, I don't know, 25. And the second number we're going to enter is 25. Okay, the value of 25 plus 25 is 50. And it's literally as simple as that. So this is a pretty simple and, I guess, in some ways useful application to some extent, I guess. And this can be adapted and used to create calculators and stuff like that. You can, request that the user puts in what type of, what type of math they're actually doing, whether it's addition or subtraction or however. And yeah, you can basically adapt this simple program to however you want it to run. So I hope I've explained everything in enough detail. If I haven't, please let me know, and I would be happy to create another video explaining in more detail how these work. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.